Welcome to Season 3 of The Lifestyle Chase, and I'm your host, Chris Little. This podcast features high performers who have found a way to live their best life while balancing their health, wellness, friends, and family. To help this podcast grow, please share it on social media, rate 5 stars, tell your friends, and check out the past 140 episodes and counting. You can follow me on Instagram at Christian Little and at The Lifestyle Chase. Thanks for listening. Let's get started. So I started a partnership with True Local recently. And you might be wondering, what does that mean? Well, let's talk about it. I am a big fan of supporting local. Being a farm kid, I really value seeking out local farms that I can support, and True Local allows me to do that. It's also Canadian owned and expanding into the US. If you order from True Local at truelocal.ca or truelocalusa.com and use the code TrueLifestyleChase, you can redeem it for 3 pounds of grass-fed lean ground beef in your first 2 orders, or 1 pound of grass-fed lean ground beef in your first 2 orders of a small box. Or alternatively, if you like bacon, you can use the promo code APLittleBacon and you can get 1 pound of delicious bacon added to all of your regular orders, in addition to 4 boneless, skinless chicken breasts in your first 3 orders of a regular size box. In a small box, you can still get 1 pound of bacon added to your first 3 orders. And remember, at the end of the day, eat protein. Thank you and enjoy listening to or watching The Lifestyle Chase. So welcome to The Lifestyle Chase. Today is episode 163, and I have the long-awaited guest, Andrew Hannon, joining me today. What's life like for you today? Like, how'd your day start off?
Started off good, man. I mean, I'm in sunny Arizona, so it's about 75 degrees right now. As I'm wearing a hoodie and sweatpants. But it gets pretty chilly here in the morning, like not crazy cold, like 30 to 40 degrees. So I get here pretty early, but it's gorgeous out here now, so it's been good.
That's awesome. So one thing that I did in preparation for this episode is I listened to a lot of the other episodes that you've guested on. So anybody that's listening to this one today, I highly recommend just search Andrew Hannon on your podcast provider and get a bit more of his backstory, because we're going to be talking about stuff that's a lot different than what he's talked about before. But with that being said, for my audience who might be new to you, some of it's going to be some of our mutual friends that are going to check this out. But like, if you were introducing yourself, like, how would you introduce yourself in a way that like feels natural and not over the top?
It's totally different from an introduction. That's a tough one because I think we were pretty similar in this. I don't like talking about myself that much. So usually someone would ask, where'd you come from? How'd you get started in fitness? All that stuff. But usually I really like to tell people, or even people that are really close to me, like, those who know me, I'm a pretty chill dude, pretty quiet dude. But a lot of friends that I've had in the past took a long time to get to know me, and they thought I was like a dick at first. But I think it's just me reading them and making sure that, hey, is this a person I want to hang out with? I'm going to take a little bit of time to get to know them first as well, until I sprinkle in a little bit about myself. But once you get to know me, we can be friends forever. I think that's kind of how we kind of connected through, I think it was the Compound Performance Mentorship. We started talking. I saw some of your posts, and especially about the the introvert stuff, especially with Kyle. So I think that's how we got connected. And I find people with similar passions. I kind of try to stay close to them and share information and stuff like that.
Well, I really like that you kind of pointed that out, the whole introvert. Well, I mean, not only the introvert thing, but also how sometimes a person that's processing the situation can be like analyzed as a jerk or whatever, and then like they totally got it wrong. Like when I have to make a first impression on someone, sometimes it's really tough because they might misread me because I'm quiet. And so when you said that really stood out to me. Just to kind of give people a bit of an add on to it, I'll help with the intro here. Like, one thing that stands out to me about you and one thing that brings you to the podcast is you're a consistent hard worker that's consistently putting out content for the fitness industry, and your specialty is golf. So a lot of people know you for your work with golf professionals, but then also through what I've learned about you is you work with a lot of people in a holistic way, in a way that helps them kind of live a long life where they're able to do things and not feel in pain. And that's something that really stood out to me. And like the experience of the client is really, really important to you. If we went back, like let's say 5 years, would that be a way that you describe yourself, or would you say that it would be a bit different, and it's evolved over time?
Ooh, that's another good one, man. I think it's always going to be evolving, especially for me. I mean, 5 years, I can even go back 6 years ago before I moved out here. I think once I moved out to Arizona and started working more hands-on with golfers, even just the people I work with now, which is some gym pops, some athletes, but I think 6 years ago I was more, about obviously the experience, but also the validation of myself. Are this is my client enjoying the session? Do they like me? Do they feel like they're getting pushed enough? And I would kind of judge my service based on that. Now how it's evolved, and I got kind of principles involved. I have all sorts of systems I can use, but also this, I feel like I could be myself with the people I work with, whether it's, someone I work with for 6 years, someone I just met, a consult that just came in, I could be myself. I know a process that's going to work for me, and being able to read people pretty well. I know how to help them because I know how to listen. I think that's the biggest thing, especially with new clients that come in. And so they know the expectation and the service I'm going to provide. And then it makes it, I want to say easy for me during the session, but I know how to kind of put the hour together where it's not going to be crazy strenuous on my energy, especially if I know I have like back to backs all day, or I can plan it where it's going to be beneficial for them, but also it's going to be my best service I can provide for them as well, just because I know how to put it together. Just not even in a, you know, fitness service way, or even, progressing in a certain way. I know what's going to work for them, and in a way where they're going to see results and outcomes.
Well, I like that you brought up listening, because that's kind of something I was sort of like thinking of as I was listening to some of the other episodes. It's just like being able to take feedback, being able to kind of act on what you're learning, and being open to knowledge, and having sort of like that beginner's mindset when it comes to the skill of listening, because it's kind of like one of those things where you have to rep it out. Um, what is it, do you think, that has made you to be the good listener that you are today?
I think this is kind of how we started, man. I think talking about the kind of introvert side of both of us. This I was always kind of lead by my actions type of person. I was taught that by my father. I was never again the loud one on. I was played a lot of sports growing up, and I was always never the loud one on the team. Always like to have fun and work hard, and always listen to the coach and always respect the coach. I'm always kind of that players coach type of person. So I kind of brought that onto the professional world as well. Just being able to always respect the person that comes in, respect your coworkers, respect your boss, respect yourself. I think that's really honed in on, my listening skills and this understanding, really what's important to them, and really remembering that stuff, like little things from, their kid's birthday or their birthday, and little nuances that they're passionate about, whether it's a sports team or certain foods they like. I always try to remember that, and always just try to hammer that during the session. That makes it easy for me. I can ask questions where they do all the talking, they do all the working, and all I have to do is cue, count, and ask another question. So I think a lot of that growing up just came from sports, and having good parents, and being able to just respect people.
Totally. And something that like I've seen through your posts and stuff, you're very like family oriented, which is like that's a value that we both share. Um, Starting with your dad, because like from my research, he's a former professional athlete. Is that right?
Yeah, so he played baseball from probably maybe mid '80s to like mid '90s. Coached for a while. Coached at the university I went to, so I played for him. So Now he works for the university, just kind of in their alumni organization. So he does a lot of fundraising and stuff for the university. So he's not really involved with baseball anymore, but that's, yeah, it's kind of where he started. Big sports background.
So, what was it like being like the kid of someone like that? Like, what kind of sort of a lasting impression did that leave on you? Like, I know for context, like I'm a teacher's kid, so it kind of made me into a bit of a teacher. What was your experience like, as at least as far as your dad goes?
Yeah, I think it was great and it was tough all at the same time because my dad is very energetic. You can kind of say he's more extroverted in kind of a way, where it's just like I respected him so much. Like my whole quest of my life was trying to be like him. And then as I grow older, it's gotten tough to the point like I can't get to that level just in my mind, just of how many people respect him, and no matter where you go, like he knows somebody. Like he can come out here, we'll be at like a gas station or something, and be like, hey, that's so and so. I'm like, how do you know that person? So it's like anyone, any player that played for him, like is always like, dude, I love your dad. He did so much for me, and it made me feel lucky growing up knowing that he was my dad. But at the same time, that pressure of in my mind, trying to be like him, but knowing that his expectation was never that for me. He just wanted to be he wanted me to be myself, take my own path. He knew that, we grew up in a small town. Like, he thought I was destined for bigger things, not in Baldwin City or Kansas or anything. So, I mean, it was a blessing and it was tough at the same time, just because, there's always people coming up wanting to talk about my dad, where it's just like at that time, you know, I was trying to prove myself not only to him but to other people and myself. And again, it's that validation thing that took a long time to learn.
Well, I mean, you kind of brought up some important points. I think a lot of us sort of get in our own head with trying to like compare ourselves to like a role model or just someone in our life who is like a fixture, and just like not seeing the best in ourselves because we're not letting ourselves be ourselves, sort of thing. Like if that makes sense. So with that being said, like let's go back to the first like 3 years of your career as a trainer. What what was it that you had to do to sort of hone in on that, to really just own the fact that you were bringing something to the table, and that if you just worked on it, you would improve and get to where you wanted to be?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think for me, it was just showing up. I think I went into, the training industry kind of not blind, but all I had was a degree in athletic background and no experience with working with people one on one in personal training. But, I knew enough about the body and, how to work out, versus I knew I could learn that during that time. I think the biggest thing that, you know, I struggled with in the beginning was just like the selling stuff, right? Obviously, in the fitness industry, you got to be able to sell yourself, especially I started at Lifetime Fitness, big corporate gym. So you got to sell products, you got to sell watches, you got to sell personal training, you got to do SNS. So it's like, it took me a while to understand that and just realize, especially with that corporation, you're just a number and you got to hit goals. If you don't hit goals, then you're not going to stay there very long. So once I figured out like I'll work harder than anybody. I'm going to show up earlier than my shift. I'll just provide value, but giving out free sessions. So it's like little things like that I learned, knowing how to prove my value and show people that I was good at what I was doing. And then, it just kind of turned into that. I never knew where I wanted to be, especially in the beginning of the career. I was just trying to make it on my own. And as I started learning more and getting better at it, I think that's where I started to develop some goals and find a niche and what I wanted to do.
Well, I mean, I kind of was blessed and cursed in the sense that I never had to like sell memberships necessarily, but I definitely had the experience of like trying to sell people on like the first encounter with me. And I've
Yeah.
definitely had times where people met me for the first time and they thought that I wasn't the trainer for them. And like I could have not been it. Like I can totally be not the trainer for everybody, but like in some cases it could have been like a missed connection. But something that we can both relate to is that whole like come in for that consultation, like give us like an hour of your time and then see what happens, like see what the experience is like. And so like one thing that I really like to point out is like anybody that's listening that's like relating to this, it's like you don't have to be salesy.
No,
Granted, you'll have to work hard and like prove your worth and kind of show how you can differentiate yourself from like all the other services out there, but like it doesn't have to be fake and you can be like super real and authentic. When it comes to that, like what was it like when you had your aha moment, like that you didn't really have to get them as they came in the door, that you could get them when they came to you for that consultation or whatever offering it happened to be that you gave to them.
yeah, I think that really didn't happen until I moved out here. After I got done with Lifetime, of course, it's like I developed a pretty good base, but I knew I just wanted to do something different. So I kind of pivoted and switched companies and started working more in home. I worked for this company that I traveled to people's houses and country clubs. That's kind of how I got into golf too, and trained them in their house. And then it was good for a while because I didn't have to do any of the selling. Like they had the parts of the company where like they had salespeople, then the salespeople would give you clients, and all you had to do was show up. And I found out pretty quick that that wasn't for me as well because it was hard for me to build rapport like right off the bat, especially when I'm walking into someone's house at 6 in the morning and that's our first session. So it's just like it took me a while to understand that because that was especially driving all around town in Kansas City area, like that drained me pretty quick, going from house to house, personality, and then hop in the car, kind of zone out, and then by 3 o'clock I was just done. So once we moved out here, and I really started honing in on my niche and learning more, I think again the best way that I provided value was just get them into the door, get that consultation process, and once they understood my value, that's when they give me referrals, and the referral system just kind of kept coming in where they knew what the expectation was, they knew what the price was, and they knew what they were getting, and knew that I learned pretty quick once pretty high profile clients or even athletes come in and refer you people, like I mean that was a pretty big deal to me. That made me really try to really hit on my service and provide a little bit more of that extra mile for those people.
Definitely. When it came to your big move, like I don't want to like have you saying the same things that you've said before, so we're gonna come at it at a different angle. Like you came from Kansas City and then you went to Scottsdale, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty far away. Like if me personally, if you asked me to move the same distance, um, I would have a lot of excuses. I would be thinking about like that's really far away from my family, like a distance that far away. I'd be thinking of like where am I gonna live? All these different things. Was that your experience, or did you just kind of like pull off the band-aid and just do it?
Yeah, dude, it was pretty stressful at first because it was me and my girlfriend, my wife now. We were just looking for a move. We were just ready to get out of Kansas, and we wanted to go somewhere warm and pretty consistent with weather. And I was lucky enough to come upon Premier Fitness Systems just through like a work email or like a recruiter service through TPI, and I was kind of sending my resume blindly, like thinking like there's no way this gym's pretty high profile. I don't think there's any way. And like Greg, the owner, called me like that next day. So it's like we went through that interview process, and like I said, it's just one of those things where like the idea sounds exciting, but then when it comes to make the decision, like there's always hesitation. There's always like again that validation of if I'm good enough. Like what if it doesn't work out, then I have to move back, and what if it does work out and you know end up being unhappiness? Not what I thought, but like you said, I think we both made the decision that was going to be the right move. It was a perfect time. But it was a struggle at first because I came out here first, and my girlfriend moved, wife now, a month later, and knowing that she was back home and she had to take care of a lot of stuff, moving an apartment, that was kind of tough to deal with. On top of me trying to build a client base, and again, we moved out here with no family, no friends, nothing. It was just going out here for the job. So I was out here alone for a month, just had the job, and I knew, after probably a couple months that we weren't going to leave, we weren't going to come back again. So it was tough at first, but it was probably the best move that I ever made.
Well, I like the phrase like what if it doesn't work out? Like so many things in life, it's like you could say that about just about anything. Has there been any other like instances where you like had that come up again, that same feeling of like, I'm about to do something, like what if this doesn't work out? Like is there anything that stands out to you when you think about that?
That's pretty much decisions every day of my life, dude. From, I'm pretty routine, and once the routine is off, and then now I'm gonna be off. But I know that if I don't kind of push that bubble a little bit, then that balance gets really off to the point of like, wake up the same day or same time every day. I like to eat the same stuff. I like to get coffee at the same time, or if I have a break, I make a coffee at this time. And if that's off just by a little bit, then I get thrown off. But I know if it doesn't get thrown off, like doing something like this, scheduling something like this, um, I know I'm not going to be able to grow. I'm just going to be set in that routine for a long time until I force myself to do something different. So little things from, a couple of years ago, we bought a house, and it was a stressful process, but it's one of the best decisions we ever made. On top of um, little stuff from, this is all first world problems, but building a pool, like that was a big financial commitment, but we did it, and we're very happy with it. On top of like even scheduling a consult for next week, like that takes me a long time to like, it's probably my last decision of the day, like calling back somebody, get it on the phone and scheduling them from that consult because they called me. So it's little things like that that seem easy, but it takes for some reason that big jump of energy just to pick up the phone and schedule that person without trying to force myself to text them. But this little decision like that should be easy adult things, but it takes a lot for me to go through that because it's off the routine.
Well, I mean, the point where you were like, instead of texting, calling, like that's funny because like so many people would be like, wouldn't it just be easy to just send them an email or a text or something? And it does come down to crunch time. Like either you want to get it done or you want to try. And sometimes to get it done, you got to be direct and you have to get straight to the point. Fortunately, now we can like do video messages too. That's kind of handy, a new little pivot to get people directly. But with that being said, like your routine, you start like super early. What is it, like 4:30 a.m. or something when you start your day?
Alarm goes off at 3:30. I
Oh,
snooze till about 4. I get up, do all the little stuff with the dog, and then kiss wife goodbye, and I'm out the door by 4:30. Yeah.
so how long have you been doing that? Like how many years?
Uh, Probably since the front door days when I was going to people's houses. Like I had clients sometimes at 5 a.m. So again, this is back in Kansas during the winters when it was I walk my car, get in my car at 0 degrees. So it's like all about that. That happens in Kansas too. So there's sometimes 5 a.m. clients at their house. So it's been past 6 or 7 years I've been doing that.
So aside from the fact that like it's just out of necessity, like you have the job, you want to do it, what was it that kind of willed you to start that routine? Like I mean, for context, I used to be waking up around that time and I'd start my day super early, and then during COVID I kind of got lazy and now I'm back to starting it off pretty early. Like we're in the same time zone, we were up around a similar ish time. um but like what was it that dialed you in to do that? Because some people aren't willing to do the tough things to get the job done. So what is it like for you?
I think, not that I've always been a morning person. Again, back in the lifetime days, if I had a day off, I'm not getting up till like 10:30, and that was just to go to work out at the same gym that I worked at, and then come home, eat, so that there's that routine again. So I think for me, it's just always I'm in my head that a lot of people rely on me, and I hate that feeling of letting someone down. So I know if I don't get up and show up before they do, then I'm not doing my job, or not, that's just me morally just trying to provide a good service. So I think that just kind of skips into even now on the weekends, like I might sleep in a little bit, stay in bed until like 7:30 or 8, and then that's when we kind of get our day started. And it still might be a lazy day, but during the week, even today, like I didn't have a 5 a.m. today, I still like to get up at that time because it might be the only time I might be able to get a workout in or even get some computer work done. So I still show up at the studio at 5 and get some stuff done, and I have a client at 6. So I think it's just that will of, you know, not letting people down. That's where it started. It also is like if I don't get my day started at a certain point, I know I'm not going to get much done.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate, and it's just being able to attach things to a why or a purpose is pretty powerful. Like, it's tough to do things for an extended period of time. It's tough to do things that are inconvenient or cause you to change your routine to be different from anybody else's. Like, to wake up at like 3:30, 4 a.m., like, what time do you have to go to bed?
Currently, we're lucky enough we can go to bed anytime from 7:30 to 8 p.m. We're about to expecting soon, so that's about to change dramatically. Um, but because we'll be on the baby schedule. But right now, I mean, we've been during the week, we've been going to bed, 7:38, even some days at 7, just to lay in bed. Then I'm snoozing by hopefully 8:30.
Well, when it comes to like, do you find that your whole social circle is the same way? Like, you're surrounded by a lot of people who go to bed early, or do you find there's a bit of a contrast between you and anybody that you talk to outside of like trainers kind of thing?
Um, that's funny, man. My social circle's kind of decreased the past couple of years. It's because not because I don't know how to be a good friend or anything, but it's just like we're this. I'm around people all day, and once I'm home, I want to be with my wife. I want to be tuned in with my wife and be at home. So it's just like she understands that as well. So I'm pretty lucky that she understands that side of me. She wants to kind of be in the moment with me and not be able to really socialize too much. So even like on a Friday, like she might have a friend that wants to, invite us out to dinner. She knows in a very respectful way that I've been working all day. I've been up since, like you said, 3:30. So we might not plan that dinner unless it's really far in advance. Because I'm just not the type that, it's a Thursday, next morning or even that afternoon, hey, we have dinner plans. Get ready when you get home. Like she knows that wouldn't sit with me well, but I would do it out of respect and knowing that okay, I'll take this time now, but tomorrow we're not going to do anything. Just because we know like how hard we work, we get up early, like we need that energy for each other, and just be able to, you know, just kind of have that time at home.
Well, I mean, like those boundaries and that communication is pretty important. Like, there's probably a lot of people that are like frustrated with where they're at. They're like, why can't I be busier, or why can't I have this, or why can't I have that? And it's just like, if you're able to kind of communicate like what you need in order to be at your best, then you can have the things that you need to be at your best. And if you're in like a partnership, you're gonna have to put that on the table real fast. And like, with that being said, like let's go back a bit. Like, how did you meet your wife? Like, how did the two of you get together?
Yeah, man, we met at a gym. So she that when at Lifetime Days, she worked the front desk. So she worked a couple of jobs, and like during the weekend, part time during the week, she worked the front desk at Lifetime Fitness. And one day we just got to talking, and that was kind of during, obviously my single days. So it's more of a conversation of, hey, I'll meet you out at this bar or, at this area. And we got to talking a little bit more. And, it was around that time where I was kind of, not ready for a relationship, but I was single for quite a longer than I've ever been. But it kind of came at the right time where it's just like, I'm ready, kind of saw it through. And, that's the kind of the rest is history. We've been together almost 10 years, married 4 this year. So this is one of those things that it took a lot of growth. It took a lot of learning about each other. And now that we're in our 30s, we have a child on the way. Like our communication is better than ever, and that took a long time to grasp. Where I had no idea about boundaries or anything in my mid 20s or even no late 20s. It's something I've learned a lot, especially the last couple of years. And the word you said, partnership as well. So you have to kind of give and take.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true, but it's super cool to kind of see it. Just like, I mean, a person can see how important that is to you through your posts. Like, she gets a lot of shout outs in your Instagram story, which I think is super cool. Um,
Cool.
Going into like being a dad soon, like it's coming up right away. Like, do you have any like thoughts going into that? Like, what's on your brain when you think about that step in your life?
Dude, that's a good question. Someone asked me that the other day. And he's like, "What's the emotion you feel?" And this is like, he's like 65, and I'm just like, you know what? The best word I can think of is prepared, excited. A lot of people ask if I'm nervous. I don't think I will be until like it's crunch time, and it's like she gives me the call, like, "Hey, I'm going into labor." then okay, now it's go time. It's kind of like my feelings like before. I hate to say this or give the comparison, but like anytime during like competition or back in the sports days, like I didn't really truly get nervous until like it's 10 minutes going into the game. That feeling of like nervous. I'm ready, prepared. I'm ready to compete. But having a child is totally different. I have no idea what that feels like, but I can only go through experience through a lot of my friends who they had kids early. They got married early, so it's like I kind of know like if they can do it, I can do it. Not in a bad way, but they did it so early. It's like, dude, how'd you guys do that at such a young age? And also just a lot of friends now. I have one good buddy. He just had his son, almost 6 months ago, and it's getting a lot of advice from him. So we're just prepared. We're settled. We're ready. So this is one of the things we're just it's excitement more than anything.
Absolutely. And I mean, it kind of like, it outlines the importance of having sort of like a sounding board in your life, like having people that have similar experiences or have similar goals that you can kind of like bounce ideas off and banter back and forth and like know that the journeys aren't going to be the same, but like by having someone to listen to your inner thoughts can be quite helpful. Like even in fitness, like we'll do a quick segue here because like I'm notorious for giving Kyle Dobbs shout outs. Like I can't have a podcast without giving him a shout out. When it
Yeah.
comes to like the compound performance mentorship, like I know that I heard you kind of give it a plug in a recent podcast. What were your takeaways? I think you did it twice, didn't you?
I did, man. I think uh, it just came at a perfect time. When I started following Kyle probably 3 years ago, that's what I was really getting into. Again, not getting too detailed with the fitness or biomechanics or any of that stuff. But when he started posting more like the PRI stuff with strength training and lifting and prep, that's where I started really paying attention to him. And that's when he didn't really have a big following. But I knew his content, his information was really good. So I just always watched his stuff. And I think one time he even shouted me out for like trainers to follow in the stories. And I thought that was just a big deal because I just really valued that guy. And we just started talking more and learning more about him and then taking the mentorship. And again, this once you find someone that not that you idolize, but like have respect for, then you kind of realize that he's kind of like you, going through what he did with, certain adversities, him being an introvert himself, even though he doesn't act like one, and be able to talk and give that much information with such confidence. Like I just have a lot of respect for that. And on top of the mentorship. I just thought the way they brought the community together through the Slack channel and, making sure they were always about, follow this person and make sure you tag everyone or just follow everyone that's in the group. I don't know if he said that, but I wanted to make a point of that because obviously people that were taking that mentorship group were obviously pretty good professionals, obviously with you and other trainers. So I made it a point to follow every one of them because I know they were going to provide good content and information that I wanted to learn and the people I wanted to meet. So that's probably what I got the most out of it. And just information and education, like I can always go back to it. But again, it takes me a while to really soak in information. So it's better for me to kind of go back into it every once in a while. And then, but I was really more into the community aspect and listening to the calls and just the way they approached the program and fitness and performances. I just respected it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of pointed out something that reminded me of so much of what makes Kyle who he is just like he gave you a shout out. Well, like when I think about it, I don't think anybody in the fitness industry that isn't my client has given me more shout outs than Kyle Dobbs. So like I totally know that feeling. It's super cool. It's like for me, it's like what is he doing shouting me out? Like I'm just like crazy Canadian up here, just changing my Zoom background all the time. It's just it's super cool to have someone that exhibits a lot of the qualities that you want to be as a person, point out the qualities that you have to kind of feel like yeah like I'm still learning but I'm on track to be where I want to be kind of thing. That's something cool that you're going to be hard pressed to find a lot of people that do that, and so that's why I usually highlight it here because it's like people have to support each other. That's something beautiful that's come from that mentorship. There's so many good trainers out of there that like I try to give them shout outs too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like something that stood out to me. It's something that, like, when we're facing struggles in our career or in our life, it's really important to have these people that are willing to, like, have those real conversations, not like be all ego, but actually like put someone else first and help each other and level up kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think too, just the respect out of, and for you as well, is people that are in kind of that routine, and they might be in, people might think they're in the best situation. Where it's kind of going back to Kyle, like working at a New York gym, charging whatever 350 an hour. You think that's like a dream position? Was just like if he felt, no, this isn't for me. Work-life balance is crap, and make that move back to St. Louis. And not getting too detailed of his personal life, but it's just like that takes a lot of guts, and move his whole family. Like that's crazy. So it's just like if he can do it, and just knowing the like you said, he's shouting us out and respects our work. It's just like it makes us feel like we can do pretty much anything. Not just leave our jobs. Not that we're not in a bad situation at all. But it's just like everyone's going through the adversity now with COVID and the past year. So it's just like supporting each other's the biggest thing.
Well, I mean, it's a super important talking piece too, to like see beyond like the wealth, the income, and understand like the fulfillment in the job is pretty first and foremost. Like, if something that I look for in people is like, are they looking to prioritize time with their family and friends? Are they looking to make sure that that is healthy, or would they sacrifice that to be more famous on Instagram? And like, that's a quality. You are strong with the quality of like putting family in a spot that's like unmovable. Like, the things that are important to you are there. Like, they're solid. And that's something that maybe is common in introverts, but I think it's something that like, if somebody doesn't see that part of life, like they should, like we should be being good communicators with the people in our lives that matter, because like, I mean, I say this too often, but life is short. Like, time flies fast when you're like neck deep in your career. So are you doing the things that matter in the meantime, or are you not? Like, long ass walks are a super good way to spend some time with somebody you haven't talked to in a while, or listen to someone that might have a lesson to teach you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit it on the head there, and I think kind of going back to the introvert things, it's like I think not that introverts get like a big like a hard knack or anything. But it's just like I think a lot of people, might be in a position where they have to feel like they're a certain way. That's how I felt for a little bit. Like I felt like, especially with a lot of trainers I used to work with, like they were so good at selling, but they were awful trainers. But there's just no disrespect to them. I met a lot of good trainers that were awful at selling that were still bad with people. So it's just like in my mind, I felt like I had to be the loud, like salesy trainer to be, positioned as a good trainer. It's just like it took a long time to learn that there's abundance for everybody. There's people to work with. If you put the work in, like they're gonna see it. And for me to act a certain way or outside of my personality or even that much of a difference, it's like it didn't feel wholesome to me. So that's where I had to leave that company during that time, just because it just didn't feel right. Because I didn't feel like I was being myself. And it was kind of like not a totally dark road, but just I felt it wasn't myself, and I would do things outside my habits as well.
Well, it's true. Like, as soon as we're out of our character, like further away from like our value system, like things that make us feel better, then we're willing to compromise things, and that kind of snowballs. We start compromising all kinds of things. We could be compromising our fitness, our nutrition, our lifestyle, our bedtime, our wake up time. Like, everything can go downhill. And so like, the whole like statement of be yourself, like, goes beyond like the hippy dippy approach of like, yeah, you can be anybody you want. It's like, if you want to last, if you want to be surrounded by the right people, you got to be yourself so that those people can find you. Like, that's something that stood out to me. I was like, well, I'm a little quirky, a little weird, got a personality, but then I'm surrounded by quirky, weird people with personality, and then it allows me to sustain myself longer because I got people that'll back it up. Like, if I need backup, I got backup, and I think that's important for anybody in any career in any industry.
Yeah, 100%, man. Hit
Um,
on that.
when it comes to like life and stuff, like, have you ever gone on any long trips? Have you ever hopped on a plane, gone somewhere, discovered things, anything like that?
I have, and my wife is gonna kill me because this was during a point where we were kind of dating, but during my again kind of lifetime days, it was that same time kind of I was getting burned out, and I had a friend who was living in Europe at the time, so it's just like I booked a flight to go to Europe for a month, so I went to kind of southern part of Italy, then we went to Rome, and then I visited another college friend who was in um, dang, I can't think another town in Italy. I can't. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. And then I, by myself, I went to Switzerland for a couple of days, got lost, then went somewhere in England, and I came home and went back to work. So it's just like I needed that. Just for me is kind of an escape. It was right around the time I started dating my girl, my wife now. So it's just like that was kind of a weird, awkward time because it's like we're just kind of dating. Now I'm about to leave for a month, but I mean, it's probably, helped me grow a lot, helped me, realize that shit, this is even crazier being alone, but also you kind of in your head, you kind of have to make decisions. Okay, am I going to be safe going here? But, I don't really care right now. I'm just going to try it out. And it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot about myself.
Well, I mean, I usually promote travel quite a bit for that exact reason. Like you kind of get into that state of uncertainty and you don't have all the answers anymore because you're in a new environment. And then you realize that you generally, nothing really bad happens when you're in a place where you don't know what the outcomes are going to be, where you can't have your same standard meals, all that stuff. Like a little side story, like some of the trips that I went on before I jumped into the fitness industry helped affirm to me that like as risky of a move that I was making, I was going to be okay because I was able to order a meal in Costa Rica successfully. Like
Oh, shit.
it was wild the way it worked out because like I went up to this place and it had all the combos, and I think I was like quattro, and then I just hoped for something and they just laughed at me, and so it's definitely like for a person that can be quiet in my first language, I was sure extra quiet in a foreign language. It was just like it took me out of my shell. And so anybody that's kind of like hesitant, like travel is a major key to kind of like get used to being uncomfortable, reasonably uncomfortable.
Yeah, especially in a foreign country. I think we kind of took opposite directions there because it's like there was a couple of nights where it's like, no, I'm gonna walk down the street, try to find a restaurant, and then it's like I saw the restaurant, I could have kind of stood outside it for a little bit, and I decided just to starve for that night, just because of that. I didn't want to break that language barrier or try to be. I knew I was gonna act like an idiot, or just they weren't gonna understand me, so I was like, I was gonna take not eating a meal that night just not to experience that. So it's like if I had any regret, it'd probably be that, just to, especially when I was on my own. But we found a way.
Well, I mean, being totally honest, like I met up with one of my buddies and he had a bit of Spanish, so like he was able to kind of like be the guy that saved me so that like I didn't get in too much trouble. Had I been on my own, like I would have absolutely done the same thing. Like I took a bus for a bit and I was intermittent fasting there, not on purpose, just by coincidence.
Yeah. Take a
um,
bus. Get out here. No, I'm gonna stay here.
yeah, totally. So with that side tangent out of the way, when it comes to content, so that's a topic that I want to talk about simply because so many people will look at like they might look at my podcast, see a bunch of episodes, they might look at your page and see a whole bunch of content and they're like, "Oh man, like why does he get to have that? Like why can't I have that?" And like have you ever come across an instance like that where somebody is like they're giving you the answer while they're asking the question, like they know that you had to like build up that volume of effort but they're still mad. Like does that ring a bell for you?
I mean, not crazy. I think I get questions every now and then. It's just like kind of strategies and tactics to use on how to build their following. And I give them the same answer every time. I came out here 6 years ago, and in Arizona, I had 400 followers, and I just kind of made an effort to, just post class every day, post a drill. It's always fun to kind of go back to like those first couple posts and kind of see, is like, shit, I would never do that drill ever again. But at the time, I thought it was cool, and that's kind of where things were going. But it's cool to see the evolution of what the posts look like, but also on a psychological view, like not getting caught up. Like for me, like I hardly ever like push that little search button and just kind of scroll down like the whole feed of like big trendy posts because for one, internally like it makes me angry on what I see. Not in the point of like I wish I had that, more of just like, okay, this is the information shit people are giving out, where it's just like butt exercises and people in thongs saying, hey, fix your hip this way, or even in the golf industry for me, it's just like golf fitness hashtag is nothing but a bunch of girls in bikinis swinging a golf club. So it's just like what value is bringing, is being put out there, or it's just like it's easy to get a following if you do that type of stuff. But it's like there's always, it's like with exercise, there has to be intent. So if your intent is wholesome, it's the truth, you don't try to deceive people. I think that's where you can find the best success with social media, and not getting down the crazy rabbit hole of wishing you had this, or it's like, man, this person got this many likes, but their exercise is garbage. You can't get in that mindset because it's just gonna get worse every because then Instagram's gonna keep feeding you that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you pointed out a few important things that I can relate to. It's just like don't make your stuff out of the pursuit of likes, because if you're trying to chase likes, like you're gonna end up being like that person just like half naked just trying to get approval kind of thing. Like, are you actually going to be putting out content that's going to change your career or change your connections? Because like if you're focused on like putting out things that in that moment, in that time in your life you think are valuable, then it's gonna be good. And like I absolutely can totally agree with the fact that like if any trainer goes back like even like 3 months in their page, they might not agree with that, and that's a good sign. Like to see a post of like, ooh, I don't know about that one. Like that's a sign that you were open to learning something new, and you didn't like figure that you were at the top of the castle. Like I mean, like for context, you've gotten a few accolades as far as being like a golf trainer in the U.S. Like I think I saw you were one of the top ranked golf trainers in the United States. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think Golf Digest does a thing every couple of years, and that first year was one of the top 50 golf fitness trainers in the U.S., which is one of my biggest accomplishments. But at the same time, I don't think I would have got that recognition without social media or Instagram, because knowing the way that I put out information isn't the way that really hit home for me. Like I'm not the type that is gonna call a website or call a magazine and say, hey, will you print this article? Like, I don't even like writing articles anyway. It's not how I like to think and provide information. I'm more of like an adaptive, it's kind of an art form for me. That's why I like, posting videos so much, because sometimes when I do it, it's just kind of a feeling, it's an intuition. It's like, okay, this sounds like a cool idea. Now, how can I provide value with the context? And also are people going to relate to it? I think what I really learned from compound performance again, especially with social media stuff, is just like a lot of trainers get caught up to posting stuff just to receive, just validation again. So like the Pat Davidsons of the world, who has a lot of knowledge and has a really good backing and knows how to back his stuff up, but then he has his community on the other side agreeing with everything that he says. I think a lot of people want that and are afraid to go outside of that. So for me, it's like I'm not going to post this drill that I'm not really familiar with or have the context with if I don't know what I'm talking about, just to get approval from other trainers. So I really learned that from that group, and other people just don't seek validation from the other professionals just to make yourself feel better and feel, agreed upon. I think a lot of people get caught up in that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I oftentimes think like what is it that one of my clients might benefit from? Like maybe I'll draw from a conversation that I had with a client, and like something was like a light bulb moment for them, and I'm like, oh, well, if it's a light bulb moment for them, maybe it's a light bulb moment for like somebody that has a similar fitness background to them, or somebody that is on a similar path like on their fitness journey. And it's just like it's lucky for me if another trainer thinks it's cool, but what I'm geared for is like hopefully it's helped one person on social media kind of connect the dots in how to squat, or how to have a more sustainable wellness routine, or just how to have a better life kind of thing. Like because really we all got a lot of stuff on the go. Like we don't have time to validate each other all day. Like we will inevitably. We're as trainers, like if we see a trainer doing something good for their clients, it's kind of exciting. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just what I like about your routine is it just seems like a flow. Like you've kind of found your flow state, and it's kind of like there is an exercise that stood out in the day, and you captured it and you
Yeah.
posted it, and then you carried on with your day, and it just makes it so simple, natural. It's something that you can kind of keep up for a long time. It's just like don't overthink it. Just like put in the work, get to work, get started.
Yeah, 100%. I think that, and there's always time for like I posted one today. I don't know if you've seen it yet about like the super speed sticks and everything. I made like a little reel, and like I was really excited about it because it's just like, again, it's the same information but just plotted differently. So it's just like it's me kind of talking to myself, but me being like someone on IG asking me a question that's pretty not basic, but it's just like it's going to be the same answer every time. So it's just like, how do you gain club head speed if I'm being in golf related terms? And again, I just throw out, basic compound movements. You got to jump stuff, you got to throw stuff, you got to slam stuff, you got to work on range of motion. And then at the end, I kind of throw in that plug. It's like, well, what do you think about this though? I'm like, that can relate to like anything from someone trying to gain muscle or trying to lose weight. Like the information is there. There's no quick fix. Like it doesn't matter what protein powder you have. Like if you don't put in the work, and that's kind of the point of the post that sometimes I like to do because that one takes a little longer. Like that took me an hour to do. Sometimes
Yeah,
I don't have that. So once I have that opportunity to do that, I feel excited about it. Hopefully people have fun with it. They comment on it, they share it, but it's not for like the likes. It's just like, look, this is just a different way of me putting the same information out. Like nothing's going to change. We can evolve, but the information is the same.
well, I thought it was cool because I did see that pop up, and I was like, "Oh man, like this probably took a long time because it was like I can appreciate what goes into content because sometimes some of my posts take me like 5 hours, like because I'm just trying to find like I want to get better at that stuff, and to get better at that stuff, you kind of have to dedicate some time to it, just like exercise, just like nutrition, just like anything. But it definitely stood out for that. With regards to your swimming pool, we're bouncing around a lot because I'm trying to be respectful of time and cover all the topics that I want to cover. But like your swimming pool stood out. I've said your backyard is backyard goals many times, and I truly mean it. For a big goal like that, for a big undertaking like that, like were you hesitant to undertake something like that, or was it just like it's too hot in here, we need a pool no matter what?
Well, funny thing is, my wife makes fun of me. Like before we even bought the house, like I was looking at houses, like man, we don't need a pool. Like I don't want to look for houses with pools. That's because I thought it's just a big waste. Because it's like we'll probably use it a few times, and then we have to clean it, or we have to hire someone. Here's the finance for that. What if we don't like it, or blah blah blah. But it's like we got so lucky with our house and how we found it, the realtor we used. So it's just like everything just kept leading in the right direction. And then my wife was so good with researching, like, we kind of wanted to do this just to make, for one, it kind of ups the property value of the house, but we found kind of the perfect match of this small company that built it for us, and we just fell in love with it. It's like, you know what, we're in a position where we can handle this. We kind of looked at everything. She had some stock options that from her previous job that we were going to use, and this all kind of turned out right. And never in my life, like I grew up in Kansas, like I swam in a pool, like I had friends that had like those above ground pools, in the neighborhood, but it's just like, I'm so used to dirt and grass and mowing the lawn, so I never thought about even, you know, ever having a pool. But now that we have one, it's just like sometimes I just kind of sit back there and just look at it and just kind of sit in awe, like, this is crazy. So yeah, it's crazy, man. It's a blessing.
Well, I mean, it's a cool recap to the fact that like if somebody kind of has a thought in their mind of something that they want to piece together, like figure out the logistics and get started. Like don't wait too long because like now that you know what it's like to have a pool, I bet you probably wouldn't want to have it any other way. Like if I took away your pool, that wouldn't be cool. Hey.
Especially if you saw it, I'm sure you saw the backyard look before. It was this, it's a pretty big lot, but it was just rock, and it was cool at first, but it's just like it's just better something to look at. Like even swimming in it's fun, like doing cold plunges is fun, but like just sitting out there, just relaxing in Arizona weather at night. Like it's a lot of fun. It's really cool. So it's better than, like I said, looking at rock and watching scorpions kind of walk across the lot.
Definitely. So there's a couple questions that I ask all of my guests, and the first one
Yeah.
is if you could give one piece of advice to someone on how to live their life to the fullest in the most authentic way, what would that piece of advice be?
Oh, bro. I can just go again, kind of. I'll just repeat myself. Like this, always kind of lead with your actions. I mean, words, and if you have the knack for gab, like that's great. But it's just like if you can't deliver, and whether that's with work, with your friends, your family, like you make commitments, like commit to those. You have to show up. So I'd say lead by your actions, show up. Always reach out to people, but don't just for me, just don't talk the talk. Like you kind of have to show up and just kind of walk it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that's important because like sometimes people think that if they say they're doing something or if they say they're going to do something that's all it takes, but like your actions when nobody's watching are what stack up to these opportunities and things working out and manifesting in some way shape or form like anybody that's made those big moves and taken a leap for themselves, a lot of what helps them get to where they want to be is like what kind of a person they are, how they treat people, and like what they how they lead their lives. Like that stuff is substance. That stuff matters. It's not all social media. It's a lot of like the quality of connection that we have with people, which is a big part of why you're on the show. Like you're a solid dude.
Thanks, man. I think again, social media gets kind of a big knack a little bit, but it's just like it's a way for me, especially as an adult, like how to meet new people. Because it's like I'm not the type that's gonna, especially now, go out and like you said, first impressions is not very good for me. So it's just like if I can kind of show my value and meet people through text or even comment on their videos and then messages and then now it leads to this. Like that's how I kind of build relationships and that's my way of doing it. Doesn't work for everybody. Everyone wants personal connection. Like I get that. This is like I get a little more value like on how we kind of started building this up right here.
Definitely. So the next question that I have for you is if you were to give my audience a challenge for the day, and it can be anything, it doesn't have to be fitness, it can be anything that's on your mind. What would that challenge for the day be? So it's geared towards something that you genuinely think would make their life better.
I would say if life permits it, and you don't have kids, and you're have that availability, I would say take a cold shower at 7:30 and go to bed at 8.
I like it. I like it. With cold showers, what is it about it that like stands out to you? What's the clincher, the thing that makes that the thing to do?
I think again, I'm not crazy honed in on like the scientific benefits, but just in my experience, when we did Wim Hof here about 3 years ago, we had a seminar and we did all the ice bath stuff. And, really the keyed in for me was just a mental challenge of knowing that you're going to sit in the ice bath for 2 minutes, not even the physical, adaptations afterwards. So for me, it's like I'm sometimes petrified of like cold water, even just, the thought of something cold being put on me, especially now being in Arizona, like it just drives me crazy. But it gives me that mental focus and knowing that I'm about to be in a stressful situation where it's just like I can kind of breathe through it. And once I did that Wim Hof stuff, like I was kind of eye opening. If you incorporate all the breathing work too, like it's kind of cool. But for me, it kind of gives me just a little bit of clarity and just know, okay, I need to do something stressful today, and I'm gonna sit in my pool for a couple minutes, and then every time it seems like I have a good night's sleep after that. So that's just kind of my experience.
That's awesome. And I like that
Yeah.
you even like preface it to say like is not so much on like the science behind it because like sometimes it's just we can do things and then ask ourselves like did that make me feel better? And if it did, do it. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like super complicated. If a person's trying to track you down, like what's your favorite way to connect with people?
Definitely Instagram. That's kind of how we connected. So Ando_PFS. And then that's probably the best way I communicate in the fastest way. If someone wants to get really detailed, then you can just shoot me an email you have it ahannon3320 at Gmail. If you have like crazy questions or anything about programming or anything like that. but Instagram's probably the best way.
Awesome. So, with that being said, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you, man. No, I really enjoyed it. Appreciate it.